And the moment you make anything personal, you die inside. And you don't see clearly. And when I say die, it means you die to truth. Because you live in complete illusion at that moment, you see. So as we go deeper and deeper into what is power, power is the ability to see how it actually is without a story. So how do you begin to see how things actually are? Do you know how simple it is to understand human nature? To understand every facet of emotion, all negativity, all pain, how simple it really is? You know what it is? Wanting love. That's all the pain that is, instead of being love. Think of anybody that is disturbed. They end up in a mental home eventually. They started out by simply getting very hurt, very offended, thinking there is something wrong with them, thinking that they're not good enough. But because they never run across someone who can help them and love them, that it kept escalating, you see, in their awareness. And because of that escalation, it kept on getting larger and larger and larger, until they came to the point where I must be crazy. There's something really wrong with me. And of course, the more you repeat it, the power of mind is that what you focus on, you become, right? The law of attraction. So therefore, you keep repeating that often enough, and before you know it, you're bonkers. So this is the point, that when we do not see things clearly, we only see what we think we see, which is just a story. So now, what is the simplicity? I repeat, okay? I repeat again. There is one, if you can understand this, like when I understood this, and I studied psychology, you know, and I played hypnotherapist for many years, but when I understood this, you know, it's just so simple. Okay, what it is this. There's only love. Nothing else but love. And as long as you're working from that love, you love yourself, you love everyone, you just love, period. You're healthy. You laugh easily. You know, you enjoy life. But the moment you want love, immediately there is a fear of not being loved. There is a fear that you're not going to be loved as you need to be loved. Or there is a fear of rejection. Or there is a fear of whatever. Okay? All fears start from wanting love. Now, why is it that wanting love, after all, love is all that there is, why is it so dysfunctional?
It's rejection.
It is self-rejection, isn't it? Very good. So saying I want love means I don't have it. So you are voiding yourself from the very thing you want most, thinking that you don't have it. You see? Now, all the known maladies, all the dysfunctions, and I say this without doubt whatever, you know, because I worked at this for many, many years. I've never met anyone who had some aberration that didn't come from this need or want. You see? But all that a person wants when they come to talk to you about their problems is first to be noticed, which is need for love, you see? Love me. Then for someone to listen, because listening is I am worth it. And if I am worth it, therefore I must be good enough. You see? So therefore when you go to a psychiatrist, and even though he gives you drugs, but he does some good because he's listening. He's listening to you. You see what I mean? So that is the essential thing. And then after a while, if the person becomes convinced that yes, I am the love that I am seeking and wanting because it is my true nature. Now when you realize that, that starts the power. And now when you start looking at anything, you see it as it is. Because the story is no longer there. The story only exists because you don't feel loved. So you're wanting love, you see? And in wanting love, you're ready for the slightest offense, for the slightest, somebody ignoring it, for the slightest thing. You get, maybe they didn't love me, they didn't call me, maybe they don't want me around, whatever. See, we keep entertaining these thoughts because there is such a great, immense fear of not being loved. But isn't that gives you a lesson in itself? The greatest fear is not being loved. How beautiful it is to know. Therefore, everybody suffers from that. Everybody. So everybody suffers from that. It means that I must be loved. Everybody wants it. You see, if you take that leap into understanding it, and that becomes the healing itself. So, now we come to the very, very important point here. Once you understand the dynamics of power, and real power is not physical, it is simply the understanding that there's only love. Because unconditional love is the greatest power that there is in life. And most of the times we call it God. Okay? And it's beautiful to call it God, because you put it all into that oneness which it is. The fullness of being, love itself. So now once we understand this, we understand the whole dynamics of it, now we can be ready to walk into real power. And real power is so beautiful because it benefits everybody, not just you. It's called witnessing. But you see, we had to discuss it from the beginning with the different stages that people go through, because witnessing cannot be given to a third-dimensional person and says, there, witness that. They say, how do you do it? You just be aware of it and that's it? Not quite. It is awareness of awareness without anyone being aware. Now that sounds like a tall order. So the best way to define witnessing would be to say, to see something as it actually is without its story. Let me give you an example, and this is a true case. There was a shaman, and incidentally, shamans become warriors when they can start witnessing. You've heard of that, right? Okay, so they're called warriors, and this warrior was in the desert meditating, and then in a little while, a cobra came. He noticed the cobra right away, and he said, the only thing I can do now is witness the cobra. So he witnessed the cobra started twirling around his legs, slithering around his body, going around his neck, almost choking him, and he kept on witnessing it. After a while, the cobra got tired and walked away, slithered away. Okay? He wasn't touched at all, he wasn't bitten, nothing happened. Why? Because in witnessing there is no fear. Because when you work at witnessing, you get rid of the story. When you get rid of the story, you automatically move into love automatically. And that's the beautiful thing. And an animal, no matter how wild it is, it will not attack you if you're not afraid of it. Did you know that? Very few people know that. The first time I heard of it was from Ramana Maharshi. He was on the mountain, and the Arunachala mountain is huge, And so one afternoon he was missing, and it was raining hard, and everything else. And his disciples got so worried, where could he be, And they looked for him, and finally they found him, and he was actually petting a cobra on its head. And then he said, but what if it bit you? And he said, this is, weren't you afraid? And he said, would a stone, no, why doesn't the cobra attack you? He says, would a cobra attack a stone? That's exactly how he put it, Ramana Maharshi. You see, because a stone has no fear, right? It's just there. Right, and it was just there. So there was nothing that threatened the cobra for it to strike. You see? So this is a beautiful example that when you witness, you overcome fear. Why is it that you overcome fear when you start witnessing?
Because fear is what if. It's not now.
It's a story, what if.
No.
Hey, that's that's beautiful. Okay, right. That's it. So if you're totally witnessing now, where is the fear? See, all fear is a story. The cobra, what is the story? It's going to attack me. You didn't see a cobra. You saw something that's going to attack you. Do you understand? That's the story. But if you see something as it actually is, that will bring you strength. You see? Because fearlessness is seeing what is as it is. Okay, so now let's talk about witnessing. We talked about the best practice to start witnessing is to watch your own breath. Because when you watch your own breath, after a while, after long practice, maybe a few weeks daily practice, you'll realize there's no one breathing. You see, you know what I mean when I said no one breathing? Your body is still breathing in and out, but there's no one doing it. It's just being done. Okay? So this is where you begin to understand witnessing. Nobody does anything. You see, the two aspects of awareness are self-recognizing and self-organizing. Now, self-recognizing means that all 7 billion humans on this earth have the same one awareness. But because it is self-recognizing, everybody thinks, oh, the awareness is mine. Because if you ask anybody, how do you know you exist? They'll say, of course I do. Well, how do you know? They'll say, because I'm aware I exist. But that awareness that you exist is not individual. Did you know that very few people know that? It is not individual at all. It just is. It is the very nature of being. But the most powerful of all is self-organizing. Self-organizing, yeah. Not self-recognizing, but self-organizing is the most powerful. Because we take everything for granted. But, you know, when a woman is pregnant, she says, oh, feel it kicking. Isn't it wonderful? You know, oh, what a miracle. Oh, this and this. But she never stops to think, but what gives it? The eyes, the brain, the skin, the blood. What creates it? Self-organizing principle of life. You see? It's the same way when you eat. You think you're doing the eating. All you do is put a morsel of food in your mouth. Digestion, assimilation, distribution, and final elimination is all done for you. Now you might say, what if I'm constipated and I don't eliminate or I don't do this? That's not the fault of self-organizing. It is that you interfered with it. Either you ate too fast, or maybe you didn't eat the right food, or it could be that you keep things inside so much that you become constipated. That's what happens physically. When you keep things in your unconscious, you become constipated. Okay? Because it keeps things inside. Okay. So that's self-organizing. Isn't that beautiful? That very simple awareness that we take for granted. Right now, I'm aware of you. You see? But the reason I'm aware of you is because there is awareness. And that very awareness itself is. It doesn't belong to anyone. It just is. You see? So if your consciousness has a different viewpoint, opinion, different ideas, different beliefs, different background, different conditioning, the awareness can see all that. The awareness can stop and see all that. You see? You know, there was for a long time, the one thing I wanted was, after I studied metaphysics and I was interested in psychology in the beginning, and one thing I always wanted was to be my own teacher. And I worked at it for many years. I didn't want anybody to, it's good to have a guru, to have a teacher who's aware, who's awakened, definitely. But the point is that if the teacher is worth it, he will liberate you to be your own teacher, in other words, you see? See, that is the function of a teacher, is to teach you to see that the best teacher is in you, your own inner guidance. And that's one thing that was fascinated me. When I ran across the Course in Miracles and it talked about the Holy Spirit, all of a sudden I had this insight. That's what the Holy Spirit is. It's the very I am that I am. You see? So if I go into awareness, just awareness of awareness, but not being Burt this or being Burt that or being this or being that, just this, and become aware of that, that will teach me everything I need to know. You see? And so this is the magic of witnessing. Now, when you start witnessing, because people often ask, well, what is the difference between awareness and witnessing? There's no difference. Witnessing is awareness. But the only thing that makes it a little bit more understandable is that awareness is aware of awareness itself. Am I clear here? Awareness of awareness? Okay, so it's not aware of something. It's holographic. It just is. If you place a mirror in front of you and you place another mirror behind you, your image becomes non-ending. Did you ever notice that? Okay. You place one behind you and one in front of you, and your face becomes unending. It duplicates over and over and over again Okay. So this is what awareness is. Okay? Awareness is all-encompassing. In fact, awareness is God itself. It is unconditional love. It is the pure being. You see, it is the fullness of being. But it is not something. And that is the point. Now, when you start witnessing, this understanding starts coming to you automatically. Okay? Let's do a little experiment right now and see where we go from there. Okay. I'd like you to hold your back straight, head erect, and close your eyes for a moment. Okay. Now, this is what I'd like you to do, is to visualize exactly what I'm going to give you to visualize, to see. You're going to experience the power of your mind over your body for this moment. Okay, so Bert goes into his fridge and he takes out a lemon, a very cold lemon from the fridge. And you're there with him. So then he slices this lemon, all the juice is coming out, he takes a bite, and then he gives you to take a bite yourself. Now picture yourself biting into this lemon, right now. Okay, you're biting into it? Okay. Now as you're biting into this very cold lemon and its juice, what is happening to your body? This is just imagination. But your body has acted. Did you feel that your salivary glands were moving? Right? Okay, now open your eyes. Okay, now, this is where we start moving beyond the story. Now the lemon has a story that affects us immediately. The story is what affects you. For example, you know, there's several guys together, and all of a sudden, a very attractive woman, very sexy woman, walks up, takes off all her clothes. Most of the guys get erections. What did it take? Why did it happen?
Because of the story they had in their mind.
Very good.
Anticipation.
It's the imaging. It's the mental picture. But a person who witnesses without trying to be in control has complete control. Because he can witness whatever he wants or she wants and not be affected. That is the power. Ordinarily, that's why we need to practice witnessing, because we immediately caught, immediately. Just like with the lemon, you bite into it, you got salivary glands and move right away. But can you imagine the whole thing and not have it affect you?
That'd be a big test.
Yes, it would be a very big test. But it works. You can still do it by simply not getting caught in the story and seeing it in a very detached way. Yeah.
So then it's to experience void of thought.
Not necessarily. See, if we think in terms of having a void of thought, that becomes a thought. So when we focus on witnessing, we can make witnessing itself as a thought. Okay? So that's a mistake. A mistake in the sense that it's no longer seeing without a story. Are we there?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay.
Almost. Probably a minute.
Okay. So where were we? So yeah. So this is where witnessing requires practice. To be able to see any event in your life and to see it without its story. And then comes a moment when you can actually see it as it is. And the moment you do, you begin to awaken powers you never thought you had. You begin to see clearer, you begin to have experiences, you begin to feel greater love. But the most important of all is what happens inside you. The understanding that will come to you that has no words at all. You were going to ask something?
Just that witnessing is not dependent upon thought or no thought. That it is not about the act of clearing your mind. That is another attempt.
That's right.
We do. It is not about attaining anything. It's about letting go of all attainment and all non-attainment.
Right.
And just watching, or watching isn't the best word, just having being present to the witnessing.
That's
that
right.
Is there.
That is such a perfect, he did a better job than I did. So therefore, this is it, answers your question, okay? It has nothing to do with stopping thought. It has nothing to do with trying to do anything. It is simply learning to just witness. What better way could we put it? To witness something without you being there.
Not attached.
Yes, it's non-attached. That's a very good word, non-attached.
There was a little saying that my teacher gave to me, and he said, anything I see, which means experiencing, is not a part of me. And so my mind and ego hated it. But it meant that any story, any judgment, was just that. It was just a story, a judgment, a thought. It was not good or bad, or it just was what it was. And that freedom allowed the witnessing to be clean.
Yeah. That's That's excellent. So witnessing is very clean. There's no good or bad, right or wrong, should or shouldn't, must or mustn't, must gain or lose or win or whatever. There's none of that. There's just being the witness of what is happening as it actually is in its purity. And it's not going to happen overnight. If it was that simple, then everybody would be walking enlightened. You see? But this is the most powerful that there is to be able to start seeing something as it actually is.